It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. This famous statement by Charles Dickens applies today just as it did when he wrote it in his book, The Tale of Two Cities in 1859. Just like that period of time, we're living in an era in which we are on the brink of tremendous opportunity. And yet at the same time, we're also living in a time of tremendous chaos and unpredictability. The major differences between then and now are two things. First, back then, change was localized and didn't affect everything and everyone. Today, change is global, and its impact is felt everywhere. Second is the momentum at which things are changing. Now, more than any other time in history, change is occurring at an exponential pace. In 1956, co-founder of Intel, Gordon Moore, predicted that the number of transistors in integrated circuits would double every year. This has famously become Moore's Law and has been observed and verified in every technology trend over the last 60 years. Essentially, the speed, density, processing power of technology is doubling every year. This doubling constitutes an exponential curve. Let me explain. If you take 30 steps linearly, 1, 2, 3, 4, eventually you get to 30. However, if you take 30 steps exponentially, for example, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, eventually you get to 1 billion. Do the math. I had to do it myself a couple of times to understand the implications, but they are rather profound. What's fascinating is that the impact of an exponential change is not just exclusive to technology. Technology is absolutely the catalyst. However, everything that technology touches is also being disrupted exponentially. That means every industry, every job, and every company is being massively transformed at this very moment. In the last 20 years, we've seen the power of supercomputers come into the palm of our hands as mobile devices. We've witnessed breakthroughs in gene research, and industries such as transportation and hotels have been disrupted by Uber and Airbnb. This is only the beginning. In the next 20 years, the pace of change is only going to get faster, and the impact will go deeper and broader than ever before. In this era of exponential change, a relevant question to ask is, how do you build exponential organizations? Organizations that are poised to take advantage of this golden opportunity in front of them while withstanding the unpredictability of global events such as Brexit, terrorist attacks, and oil prices. Organizations that have the ability to attract and retain the talent necessary to adapt, evolve, and grow exponentially. Organizations that can sustain and be relevant not just in the next 5 years, but in the next 20 years. How challenging is this as a proposition? Well, according to MIT Technology Review, in 1958, the companies listed on the S&P 500 would stay on the list for an average of 61 years, while today, the average is only 18 years. Not only is it challenging, it's getting harder and harder every year. To build exponential organizations, you need 3 things: talent, agility, and technology. First, let's talk about talent. It's the lifeblood of every organization and the most misunderstood at the same time. By 2020, it is predicted that an additional 1 billion people on this planet will be coming online through the use of mobile devices. And what they're going to do is they're going to add substantially to the global workforce population. With a staggering number of individuals joining the workforce, the availability of skilled talent is increasing year by year. And yet, getting access to talent that is able to have an impact in an organization and is aligned to its purpose is getting more and more elusive. Why does such a paradox exist? Why is finding the right talent that is the right fit and produces measurable results so much harder today than ever before? There are three key reasons. First, jobs are changing faster than ever before. According to Oxford Research Institute, up to 53% of today's jobs are predicted to be gone in 10 years. Most jobs that are around today were not even around 20 years ago, and the same will be the case in the next 10 or 20 years. But will these jobs really go away? No. They're simply going to change. And that means the talent has to continuously reinvent itself to stay relevant and have an impact. Second, the length of employment has changed drastically. There was a time when the baby boomer generation worked an average of 10 years, whereas today, the millennial generation, changes jobs every 22 months. Third, the nature of work is changing. There's a big shift towards contingent and freelance workers. According to recent Government Accountability Office figures, 40% of workers are contingent today, and that number is expected to reach 50% by 2020, a mere 4 years away. Compounded by these trends are the desire for workers to also have a work-life balance, alignment of purpose and values, and flexible work arrangements. While there's a plethora of talent available, sifting through the masses to find that needle in a haystack that is going to have a meaningful impact is getting more and more challenging, and organizations don't have the necessary tools and resources to do it effectively. Now let's discuss agility. CEOs today are unsure whether they should be investing for growth or bearing down for a crash. They're hedging their bets in both directions, and for good reason. The world truly is unpredictable. And for this reason, global CEOs need one thing above all else: a dynamic and flexible workforce. One that is nimble and responsive to change, whichever direction the change takes the organization. The most dynamic organizations of today are no longer using top-down hierarchical management structures, but rather have decentralized structures where decision-making and ability to execute rests with small empowered project teams at the edges rather than at the core. Apple and Google are examples of organizations using such structures. Think of structures that look and act very much like cellular structures of the human body, where each has specialized functions and at the same time contribute to the whole of the organism. Companies must become agile, yet sustainable ecosystems with a common purpose in which all interests are aligned. Finally, let's talk about technology, the catalyst for all of this change and the place we will find solutions to manage it as well. There are three ways that technology can help. First, to enhance communication. In decentralized organizations, the speed and richness of communication is essential for work to happen faster and more effectively. Companies such as Slack and HipChat provide great solutions in this area. Second, technology helps spawn innovation. Companies that invest in innovation at the fringes, not at the core, have a better chance that the innovation will thrive and not be attacked by the company's own built-in immune system that is designed to protect its core business model. And third, by leveraging the power of crowd-based platforms to solve grand business challenges. Today, crowd-based solutions are changing the very fabric of how businesses get funded, work gets completed, and how talent gets identified and hired. In this arena, companies such as Kickstarter and Upwork are ones to keep an eye on. Another disruptive company in this space, and one that I've founded, is called crowdstaffing. Crowdstaffing helps companies tap into the power of the crowd to hire amazing talent. Uber has no drivers of its own and yet facilitates more rides than any other car service. Airbnb owns no hotels and yet rents the highest number of rooms in the world. Similarly, CrowdStaffing employs 0 recruiters and yet has built a platform with the capacity to fill thousands of IT, engineering, and professional positions a year through its vast network of independent recruiters. The world is changing exponentially. In the Chinese language, the word crisis also means opportunity. It is an apt description for what we face today. It is indeed a tale of 2 stories. And despite the potential for crisis and unpredictability, there's no doubt that the world is in the mode of reinventing itself and will be a much better place in the next 20 years. To manage through this period of change effectively, companies must adapt and become exponential organizations, embracing talent, agility, and technology like never before. Only then will these organizations thrive and grow, remain relevant, and create a meaningful impact on our collective future.